Yesterday I said, Chris, if there's one thing that we love, it's a 4-day weekend.
Heck yeah.
If there's another thing that we love, it's a 3-day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Southside Beat, live on DK Pittsburgh Sports on the Steelers YouTube channel. My name is Corey Crisan. Next to me is Chris Halicke. You are tuned into episode 5. We are 1 week down.
1 week
on the Southside
already.
Beat.
Feels like it's flown by already.
Appreciate those of you tuning in for the first time, for the fourth time, for the fifth time, any time in between. This is a new venture, of course, here on DK Pittsburgh Sports to precede the Ramon Foster show. Of course, every weekday from 4 until whenever Eastern is Ramon and DK. The Southside Beat, Monday through Friday, every day, 3 until 3:30 Eastern. Talking Steelers, breaking down what's going on the South Side. And Chris, today, nothing going on the South Side. The Steelers are off until Monday when they go back into practice. But for now,
nice little siesta before the season starts.
Absolutely, and they get back in the regular swing of things throughout the week. Yeah. Today, we're gonna end the week. Of course, it's a Friday.
Welcome, Don. First time live. Welcome. I'm sorry, not Don. Dan. I can't read
Dan chiming in first time live. I know there's some tuning in first time live. I love seeing the terrible teas. I love seeing the moan emojis as well. That's awesome. So
Moan was in the comments yesterday, so keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, sometimes Ramon Foster. Sometimes Ramon Foster. You never know who's going to check in here on the Southside Beat. Today on a Friday, of course, towards the end of the show, it's going to get a little, free-for-all-y. That's how Friday shows go. But we do have a pretty important topic, I think, Chris, to address, and that's a very important rookie to the Steelers defense. Yeah. You all know him. You all love him already. It's Joey Porter Jr. And the Steelers, obviously, we know by now, got him with the Chase Claypool pick, in the return from the trade. And, he has so far looked pretty good in this preseason and the, rookie minicamp, OTAs, et cetera, going through Latrobe. But there's still a role for the rookie to carve out. Yeah. And the signing of Desmond King this week put a thought into my mind about that defensive backs room, because now those cornerbacks are going to be able to play a little bit inside, outside, wherever it may be. There's some versatility within the room. Yeah. But Joey Porter Jr., to me, Chris, is a different case. And I'm curious to know, obviously, those from the listeners chime in. We want to hear what your thoughts are about what Joey Porter Jr. could do in his rookie season. But Chris, I want to throw that one to you to start the show. Where does Joey Porter Jr. go as a rookie? What do you think his safe spot is within the defense, and how does he continue to grow as an NFL defensive back?
Well, his biggest strength is just press man coverage on the outside. That's honestly his strength. Getting right up in the receiver's face, being physical, staying with them. He's not the fastest guy, but he's got good quickness. His footwork could use some improvement. Obviously, that's not uncommon for rookies, coming into the NFL. There's always some refinements that come with the technical side and the mechanics of playing the position. Especially when you're trying to keep up with all of these receivers and there's just so many good ones in the game nowadays. If I could just throw this all the way back to the combine, whenever I was there, I had somebody in the organization tell me, give me a list pretty much of what exactly the Steelers were looking for in a cornerback in the draft. And the ability to run with and stay with receivers was top priority. Now, when you watch Joey Porter Jr., that's not necessarily his biggest, in terms of the ability to run with receivers, that's not necessarily the first thing that leaps out at you. I just think physical man press corner who is going to be able to slow you down off the line and use that to his advantage, and then also use his length to his advantage, because he doesn't have to be as close as another cornerback because of that length, because of his long arms, because of his reach. He can afford to give a little bit of extra space and still be able to make a play on the ball. So I just think it's really curious, because obviously, he falls into your lap at 32. That's kind of an easy take right there, an easy pick. So how is he going to fit that? Not saying that he didn't fit exactly what the Steelers were looking for, but it wasn't necessarily the top of their priority list in terms of what was described to me. And so that's why I'm really curious to see number one, how his game translates to the NFL level, because he can get a little handsy at times, and how much can he get away with? How much a referee is going to let him get away with? And if they don't let him get away with much, how can he recover? How can he become a better cornerback whenever he can't be as handsy as he was in college?
Now, there's a way to do it, right? There's a way for that style to work. And I want to bring in Barber here, his comment, just hope Joey Porter Jr. won't be too handsy. The thing with Joey Porter Jr. is, yes, physicality is his best trait.
Yeah.
And if you go back to the Buffalo game, the only home game of the preseason, he had his first professional, you could say, interception. And if you watch that play, he was able to use his size, his physicality, his hands to take the receiver off of the route.
Yeah.
And there's a technical way to do it from a rules perspective and from a football perspective, right? And there's a happy medium in that somewhere. And right now it's about Grady Brown coaching Joey Porter Jr. up on how to do that and play his style the right way. I will say, if there's one thing that, I did a winners and losers piece out of training camp in Latrobe, and Joey Porter Jr. ended up on my quote unquote losers piece. And my reasoning and rationale for that was, this was a rookie who was expected to come in and kind of have it together, so to speak, as a professional. That's why he was getting first round grades, why he was getting first round mocks, and why when he was drafted at 32, this is a player that you can look and say, how did he end up there? Right. Yeah. But there were some growing pains shown in Latrobe. And I meant what I said as a quote unquote loser out of training camp, because he was showing those growing pains in a way that I didn't really expect Joey Porter Jr. to struggle in tackling drills like I saw him do. I didn't expect Joey Porter Jr. to get, so to speak, beat by George Pickens as often as he did. I thought there would be a little bit more of a closer competition between those two. And credit Mike Tomlin, credit Terrell Austin. Well, hold on. Let me explain this, okay? Let me explain this, okay? Credit Mike Tomlin, credit Terrell Austin for giving Joey Porter Jr., George Pickens, almost said Joey Pickens, George Pickens, to kind of sharpen the sword, so to speak, to borrow a Tomlinism in training camp. I think that's great for both of those players.
Yeah.
However, I thought based on Joey Jr.'s makeup, on his press ability, that he would win some more of those one-on-ones over Pickens. And I get it. Pickens is a year ahead of him. Pickens is a little more developed. I understand that. But I thought Joey Porter Jr., he absolutely is. But Joey Porter Jr. is a good athlete too.
Yeah, he is.
He's a good athlete too. So I thought he was going to be, maybe that's just based on my own expectations. I thought Joey Porter Jr. was going to be able to hold his own a little bit more in training camp. Yeah. But there are still some encouraging signs coming out of what he was able to show. And then, of course, he gets the interception in the preseason. Some of that stuff is exactly what he's going to be able to do. And I love having him as a just tailor-made outside cornerback that's going to play on the line of scrimmage.
The issues at training camp with George Pickens beating him a little bit more often than he probably should does not concern me whatsoever. George Pickens is a freak. I mean, he's an absolute freak. And I really think that Pickens can make just about any corner in this league. And I don't say that hyperbole. I really mean it. He can make just about any cornerback in this league look absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, here's your comment right here. Big Mave right here. Not a person on earth who could lock down George Pickens. I understand that.
And that's why, like, that stuff. And Mark brought up a good question, or a good comment earlier. He also brought up a good question I want to address. Saying something about, where was it? I can't remember. My brain's all over the place today. My brain is filled with ragweed pollen everywhere.
So Chris got the allergy bug today. Yeah, I'm just getting over it. I know 5 people in my life right now, Chris, that are just dealing with the sinus, the nasal, the changing of seasons. You're dealing with ragweed in Texas. Yeah. I'm dealing with it's 55 degrees at 1 hour, and then it's 80 by 5 p.m.
So Mark brings up a really good point here. Looking at the preseason tape, QBs didn't throw his way off, and he was blanketing his assignments. And there is, from going back and watching the tape, he was doing a really good job of making sure. It's kind of the same thing that happened at Penn State. Like, there's not too much to take away from his last year at Penn State, because quarterbacks just didn't want to throw that way. Now, I don't think it was as much game plan oriented because you don't get a lot of game planning per se in the preseason. Teams are usually really everything is focused in on themselves. They're trying to figure out how they can get from 90 down to 53. It's not just about, and that's why when we talk about, oh, Kenny looked amazing in preseason, that's why we don't just say, okay, he's about to be the best quarterback in the league, because when you play the Buffalo number one defense, you're playing the Buffalo number one defense, yes, but they aren't necessarily game planning to stop Kenny Pickett. They're trying to just get ready for the season. So there's a difference. If you were to play Buffalo in the playoffs and that's the number one defense, it'd be different. Really good question here by Mark as well that I want to bring up. Am I wrong to think that this coaching staff doesn't think JPJ is ready to make the next level just yet? We signed a lot of quality veterans. And I would answer that by saying it just gives depth and a bit of an insurance policy just in case there are rookie year struggles. You don't want to necessarily throw him out there to the wolves. And if there are struggles, you're going to pay the price for it. And unfortunately, that price will come in the form of really big plays. And if the Steelers are trying to prevent anything on defense this year, it's stopping the big play. I think they've been very clear about that throughout the entire offseason. The moves that they've made have zeroed in on addressing that problem. And if you left a rookie out to the Wolves, I don't care if he was a first rounder, second rounder, whatever he is, if you throw him out to the Wolves, if he grabs the job, if he grabs it by the horns and he says, no, I can lock down anybody.
Yeah.
Awesome. If he doesn't and he struggles, guess what? You have Patrick Peterson. You have Desmond King. You have Levi Wallace. You have options that can go out there and get the job done too.
Good point here from AJ in the YouTube comments. Remember, those that are listening on playback, if you can at 3 p.m., we're taking live comments, live questions. We're talking Steeler football with you, not just with ourselves. So AJ brings a point about Joey Porter Jr. Angel on one shoulder, demon on the other, right? Now, there are good qualities about Joey Porter Jr., which is why he was coveted so highly in the draft.
Yep.
And every draft pick, every player has his weaknesses. It's just how even TJ Watt has a weakness. Like every player, minus maybe Patrick Mahomes, like every player has his weakness. Tom Brady didn't have weaknesses, but those are 1 in a million. Point is, and someone else brought it up in the comments too, I don't have it in front of me, about George Pickens sharpening again. Iron sharpens iron, Joey Porter Jr. It's a good test for him.
It's a really good test, yeah.
And another thing that Joey Porter Jr. has for him is Patrick Peterson to learn off of. Yeah. Whether Pat P is in his 13th season in the NFL, physically capable of playing at an all-pro, in my opinion, Hall of Fame level, like he has done for his career. Right. Yeah. Like he has done for his career. He still is smart. He still is going to get into I'm laughing because Bob
That's
just
so good.
Bob
That's
popped
just
me with
such
that.
a good comment.
And TJ said he's not getting a pool guy. If you missed that earlier this week, TJ Watt was on with Pat McAfee, and he's not getting a pool guy. He said he likes doing it. So those that are wishing for a new pool guy for TJ Watt, I just don't think you're going to get it. Good point here from Ryan. Joey Porter Jr., he's got the pedigree and will have growing pains, good support structure. Completely agree. That's what you can ask for if you're Joey Porter Jr. to have around you. He's got all of the tools as far as the environment is concerned. Now it's about applying his game that made him successful in college. And remember, he's playing Penn State. He's playing in the Big Ten. He has to guard Marvin Harrison Jr. and the Chris Olaves of the world and the Garrett Wilsons of the world. So
facing real talent,
right. So he's sharpened enough, so to speak. So I'm curious to know how much is it in his rookie year and then how much he goes into year 2. I think the year 2 leap will be highly expected when we're sitting here a year from now.
Yeah.
But for now, he's got Patrick Peterson. He's got Levi Wallace to lean on. Let him do it.
Yeah, that's the great thing about, again, the theme of the week has been the options and the depth of this roster. Your floor without Joey Porter Jr. is here. Like, no matter what, because of what you have with Levi Wallace and Patrick Peterson and Desmond King, it's there. If Joey Porter Jr. pulls a Sauce Gardner and goes absolutely ballistic in his rookie year, then the cornerback room just gets that much better. I'm not predicting that's going to happen. You don't see very many Sauce Gardners do what he did. Which, by the way, if you haven't tried it yet, his wing sauce at Buffalo Wild Wings is actually really, really good.
What flavor is it? Hold on.
It's like a mixture of like hot, but with a little bit of barbecue in there and a little bit of sweetness. It's a really good mixture of a bunch of different flavors. I really like it. I think it's just called the sauce. I
don't know this about you, Chris, so I'm going to ask and tread lightly.
Oh, geez.
Ranch or blue cheese? There's a right answer.
Ranch. Oh. Good Lord. Blue cheese. Okay, it's mold.
Chris.
It's mold. Corey?
Chris.
It's mold.
Oh,
I don't want to eat mold. I don't like eating so okay, you like eating mold? That's fine. People who want to eat mold
with wings, like way they were invented in Buffalo, New York. That's how you do it. Hot wings. Flats, by the way. Flats over drums.
I like both. I'll eat both.
Well, I mean, both is the answer.
I like both.
Blue cheese with wings like they were invented in Buffalo, New York. That's what you do. Joseph, let's transition to another football point. We'll let the YouTube comments sort the blue cheese ranch debate out.
I will say this, though, and Jack's Fleck actually brings up a really good point here. I actually usually don't dip them very often in anything, in ranch or blue cheese. I like to try the actual sauce, and the ranch or the blue cheese just drowns it out. I understand if you're eating like really, really hot stuff, the ranch or the blue cheese helps like cool that off a bit.
Yeah.
And so I will usually have ranch on the side. I usually have either onion rings or fried pickles or fries on the side. It depends on where I'm eating. And sometimes we'll dip the fries or the onion rings or the fried pickles in the ranch. And that will be like the way I cool off. But the wings themselves, like 95% of the time, I'm not even dipping them.
See, this is how you know I was raised the right way. This is my father, David. Blue cheese forever. Thanks, Dad. Love you. I want to go to another football point, and I have it starred. We're doing this in real time, production value. Love this question from Joseph. Question from Joseph. Does Keanu Benton start game 1? Love the question. I love Keanu Benton's potential with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I love that there is a pedigree. I wrote about this in rookie minicamp. I love that there is a pedigree between Coach Dunbar, Carl Dunbar, the defensive line coach, and the defensive line coach that was at Wisconsin, and Ross Kology, who's now at Stanford. Ross Kology played for Carl Dunbar and Mike Tomlin at Minnesota in 2006, right before Mike Tomlin got to Pittsburgh. There is a lineage there. There's a reason why TJ Watt, Isaiah Loudermilk, Nick Herbig, and now Keanu Benton from Wisconsin are all on the Steelers. Not just because of the quote-unquote stylistic match that has been talked about. And Trevin, appreciate you 1 month being a member here.
Yeah, absolutely. Gotta put that on there. Welcome, man. Welcome.
It's not just that stylistic match, but it's the coaching that comes along with it.
Yeah.
Keanu Benton not only had good tape, but he had good coaching. He had translatable coaching. Kology was the strength and conditioning coach for TJ Watt. Then he became the D-line coach and was with Loudermilk and Benton and Herbig. So this is a match from that perspective that Mike Tomlin has talked about. And now what you get to see with Keanu Benton is, I like to equate him to a lighter version, LITE, like the light beer, of Kalijah Cansey. Of Kalijah Cansey at Pitt. Fast defensive tackle, can really move on the inside. Again, light, LITE. Can really move along the inside, and at the same time is good in the pass rush and can hold his own in the run blocking or run stopping.
So I watched, I didn't cover Kalijah Cansey at Pitt. I know you did, and so you obviously got an up and close look at him.
Yeah.
I didn't obviously cover Keanu Benton at Wisconsin, but I did get to talk to him and watch him at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, and it was there that I kind of realized, like, this dude might be good enough. I think at the time he was like a 4th round projection, and he did well enough at the Senior Bowl that he made himself a 3rd round projection. I think I even did a mock draft. I can't remember for sure, but I want to say I did a mock draft where I had him as the Steelers' second round pick, which is what he ended up being. I can't remember if I did that for sure or not, but I definitely was higher on him than a lot of people just from what I saw at the Senior Bowl and then going back and watching the tape that he did at Wisconsin. He's really, really impressive. And watching him come in, I think whether or not he starts in game 1, he's going to carve out a role for himself, because we know that the first 2 defensive linemen out there are going to be Cam and Larry O. And then when they need a nose tackle, yeah, you can go Montravius Adams, you can go Armand Watts, but I think Keanu Benton is going to get his opportunity. He will get his opportunity, and I think that if Cam or Larry O do happen to go down with an injury or anything like that, that Benton will see an increased role as well. He will get his opportunities and will get a really, really good barometer, I think, pretty early on of just what we might see from him in his rookie year.
Randy wants to peel back the curtain a little bit, which I like doing, quite frankly. I like transparency. I like peeling back the curtain. Randy asks, are you guys able to enjoy watching a Steelers game with pure enjoyment? Or are you so analytical that you're always evaluating the plays and players? Here's my answer to that. I like watching football for the chess match that it is. That's my favorite part about football. It's here's how the offense is lining up. Here's how the defense is lining up. Here's what the offense is going to do. Here's how the defense is going to react. Go. And it's that the result is that equation, right? And analytical is one thing.
Yeah.
I go back and look at the analyses after that, the analytics and the stats and everything. I like to let my eyes tell me whether Kenny Pickett's having a good game, or I like my eyes to tell me that James Daniels is blocking well, or I like my eyes to tell me that Joey Porter Jr. is locking down Elijah Moore or whatever receiver it is.
Yeah.
I let my eyes do the talking, and during a game, I have a notebook in front of me and I'm writing down stuff by hand.
Yeah.
But when I'm home and I'm watching football, you get to a point when you're in the business that you just kind of have as I say, a trained eye on the entire thing.
Yeah.
And you kind of can't help but to watch it in that same way, whether you're working or not. Now, like a Super Bowl party, I'll put 10 hot wings and blue cheese on my plate and I'll have fun, but I'm still watching the game with that similar trained eye, so to speak, if that makes sense.
I think once you become a sports journalist of any kind, and I got my start in the business by covering baseball, not by covering football.
Or journalists in general. Could be news too.
Right.
Could be news too.
Specifically with sports journalism, especially if you're a sports fan, whenever you begin to cover teams and you're going into the locker room of the clubhouse every single day and you're talking with those players and you begin talking with the manager or the coaches and you begin talking with front office executives and you get to see essentially how the sausage is made, it really affects your overall fanhood of sports. I'm not saying it takes it away. It sheds the entire industry in a different light. Now, that being said, I still thoroughly enjoy even being in the press box and watching a football game. Now, there's work to do. If there's a notable play that happens, or if there's something really good happens, something really bad happens, like I have to, my focus is on work. But there's still always that part of me that will always enjoy watching the game. But even just being a sports journalist, the teams that I'm still technically a fan of, I don't find myself getting nearly as invested as I used to, just because of what my job has been for the last few years. And it's just the way it is. It doesn't mean I enjoy sports any less. It just means I enjoy it differently.
It's this field in general, not sports notwithstanding.
Ooh.
I can't watch TV news without critiquing it. And Pittsburgh is a fantastic TV market. There are absolutely wonderful journalists, wonderful videographers, wonderful producers and directors and writers across all stations in this market. And it's not just the Pittsburgh market. I can't watch a TV news program without critiquing it. That's just me. It's me being anal about the shots and the writing and the cuts and all of that other stuff. I'll go into the structure of the show. Yeah. I'll go into the A block and the B block and the kicker block and the sports block and the weather. I'll go into all of it.
Yeah.
So it's not just sports. Believe me, it is within the entire just field of media and journalism. Robert asks, who is your favorite interview? Now,
does this have to be Steelers?
See, I'm going to give a Steelers. I'm going to give a Steelers and I'm going to give a non-Steelers for mine. My favorite Steelers interview is Mason Cole. Mason Cole, to me, he gets it. He's a genuine hearted human and gives genuinely hearted answers.
For sure.
Mason Cole is a guy that will breach the subject of football into real life if you need him to, or if he needs to, or if he feels the need to.
Yeah.
Mason Cole, to me, has been, this is just from a journalist perspective, is a consummate professional when it comes to at least dealing with media. My favorite non-Steeler interview, and I'm going back to my minor league baseball roots with this, is current Cleveland Guardians pitcher Tristan McKenzie.
Mm-hmm.
I will never forget this in my life at least for as long as I do this job. This was in low A, and this kid's 18 years old. He was a second-round pick. Mm-hmm. He's one of the top prospects in the Cleveland organization. He was just coming off his first professional start. And we're on the field waiting. In minor league baseball, it's a little different. We're on the field waiting for players to start heading back to the clubhouse. And I pull Tristan aside. I go, "Hey, Tristan, you got a sec? Because I want to talk to him." He goes, "Yeah, give me 1 second." He runs over to a garbage can that's about 25 feet away, and he spits his wad of gum out into the trash can. Whereas, Chris, baseball. Players will just throw, seeds, anything, tobacco, whatever it is, just throw it out over their shoulder. He walked over out of his way to the garbage can, threw the gum in the garbage can, walked over to me, and gave me, 7 minutes. And again, we talk about spin rates of sliders and what he wants to do with his real life if he wasn't playing baseball. The answer was astronomy, by the way. Really smart kid.
Nice.
But just that courtesy, I love that. And every time I've talked to Tristan, he's been amazing. So shout out to him. Really cool kid.
My favorite Steelers interview has been so far Deontay Johnson. Specifically, I'll point it back to one interview was shortly after that the reported scuffle between Deontay and Mitch Trubisky during halftime of the Jets game last year. He was about as transparent as I've ever had an athlete be with me on the record. I've had athletes, be pretty transparent with me off the record. You can't report that stuff, but on the record, it was kind of surprising with some of the things that he told me. Because usually guys are a little bit more guarded, especially when it comes to a situation in which they could be possibly painted in a bad light. And Deontay's just an honest dude. And that's one thing that I really, really love about him. In terms of when you have players like that you can pretty much go to, I need a truthful answer. Deontay's a guy to go to. And I thought that was really cool. Favorite non-Steelers interview still to this day, and it's my favorite article I've ever written, was I interviewed, he plays for the Yankees now, I believe, but former Rangers catcher Jose Trevino hit a walk-off on Father's Day the week that he became a father. I got to talk to him about that, and he told me his entire story about how his dad, brought him up and how his dad was his inspiration for everything. And just that entire story and everything like that. It was a really, really awesome takeout that I got to write. It was a Father's Day feature on Sports Illustrated. That's what I was writing for at the time. Awesome. And it was awesome, man. It was really, really, it was a very rewarding process. And the story ended up being really, really cool.
My favorite singular Steeler interview is James Daniels, because he is from Warren, Ohio. I am from Brookfield, Ohio. So right down the road, Trumbull County boys. We can talk about Trumbull County, Northeast Ohio football, Youngstown happenings, stuff back home. It's great. Steeler Girl 808. She's in Maui. Want to wish nothing but the best. All health, all safety to everybody that's being affected in Hawaii. With the fires, and praying for everybody, hoping everything works out.
Absolutely.
And it's a situation I can't personally just relate to, but I can sympathize, and we can send best wishes.
All right, Corey, we're getting near the end here. Is there a Steelers or non-Steelers take you want to end the show with?
The ACC is officially adding those 3 schools, and
sticking with the ACC stuff.
I'm paraphrasing what the commissioner Jim Phillips said today. That they tried to get, they were basically on the forefront and they were getting ahead of things. No, they weren't. They added the scraps of the Pac-12 and Southern Methodist. Let's not fake that here. So there's my final thought of the day. On a 3-day weekend, we will be back Tuesday. As a reminder. No show Monday. We'll be back Tuesday. Chris, your final thought before we get out of here.
Next week, it becomes real, man. We got the schedule from the Steelers today. Practice schedule. They're locker room availability Monday, Tomlin Tuesday, practice on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. like, I understand like kickoff doesn't happen until a week from Sunday, but just the beginning of that week, to me, that's like the real start of football season, because that's like, at least for us on our side of things, that is when things really begin. Just so stoked about it, man. Football's finally back. We'll come back from Labor Day. I'll be refreshed. I'm, gonna take the wife and kids up to the lake up in Oklahoma.
There you go. There you go.
For a few hours on Sunday and just enjoy some time. And man, I'm stoked. Gonna come back refreshed. We're gonna do this podcast every single day. Stoked about it, man. I'm so excited for the football season.
Let's get rid of our allergies too in the process. He's Chris. I'm Corey. He's Chris. I'm Corey. DK and Ramon in 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
On the Ramon Foster Show. We will be back Tuesday right here on the South Side Beat. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Peace.